First of all, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about series that I think are very binge readable. If you have a free weekend and you want to dedicate it to reading, these are gonna be perfect. If you are in a reading slump, also perfect. These books, in my opinion, are very easy to get into, have a fast pacing and addictive qualities. A lot of them are romance series, but I do have a little bit of fantasy and crime as well. The first series that I want to recommend is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Onley James. It's young adult thriller / crime, and I really enjoyed it. When you hear young adult crime or thriller, you expect very little because there are some unwritten rules about young adult category. Some grittier themes are usually not discussed in young adult category, but these books genuinely surprised me. Not only each book was an absolute banger in terms of the plot, I also fell in love with the characters, and I didn't feel like the author is trying to soften it up to avoid certain themes. I really loved each book, and I think what makes the series very charming is the protagonists and the setting. The story is about a girl named Pip that in the first book, as a part of her summer assignment, decides to investigate a murder case that happened in her village. She believes that a wrong person was accused for the murder, but the police stopped the investigation and decided that he is a murderer because he killed himself. Pip is a very upbeat and very justice-driven character, which is why it's incredibly interesting to follow her throughout these books because she does change a lot. Her character arc is incredible. I think her development throughout the books was so well done. My best pitch for the series is it's like Nancy Drew, but the characters actually suffer from the consequences and the cases are much grittier. I really love this one. I recently finished the series and I would definitely pick up any book that Onley James publishes next. The next one is a romance series. It's The Necessary Evils by Onley James. I think some people would be surprised by this recommendation because I very often complain about the series and criticize it in my wrap-ups. Still, I think it has such an addictive quality to it that even though I said in one of my previous videos that I'm not going to read it further because I'm always frustrated with it, I'm still very tempted, specifically because of my friends who have read the next two books and enjoyed them and who have very fun conversations in our chat. In my personal opinion, it's one of those series that have quite a few flaws, but people are ready to dismiss them because it's so quick, snappy, audacious, and fun. And it's not a bad thing if you do. I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm the last person to criticize anyone, anytime. I'm just trying to explain why I included it in this list without looking like a hypocrite. It's an MM romance series about serial killers that is pretty heavy on the spicy elements, and a lot of people really love it. If you've heard the spiel before, forgive me, but I gotta introduce it to people that have not heard about the series at all. It's a story about a doctor that decides to conduct a very risky experiment. He collects psychopathic children in hopes of raising them into perfect weapons. He wants to train them into being ethical assassins, to kill people that deserve it and that evade punishment from official law enforcement. Each book is about a different brother and their love interests. The psychopaths in this series very quickly become obsessive with their love interests, and the romance is developing very quickly, and because of that there's mostly not much romantic conflict, but the conflict comes usually because of their jobs. What the series has, and I can't deny it, is the addictive quality. The books are very snappy. They very quickly get into it, and I guess if you are in a reading slump, it's something that you want. They are very entertaining And also, I really love Onley James's humor. It's very dark, and when you're writing a story around serial killers, I guess there's no way out of it. I enjoyed some of the books more than others. I think some are more successful than others, but it's also very subjective. If you're looking for something fun and quick and the premise is intriguing for you, I think you might really love it. I think to achieve maximum enjoyment from these books, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. Some people can do it. I personally can't, but if you are one of those people, I think you're going to love this. So the next series is another crime series. It's the Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I don't actually know what's the name of the series. It's just the first book that is called that, but it's by Elle Cosimano and it took booktube by storm. It's a very funny, quirky crime series about a single mom that divorced her husband recently and that is struggling financially. She is an author of suspenseful romances, and at the start of the novel she meets her editor to figure out some plot issues. They talk really loudly about one of the characters that the protagonist needs to kill and how they want to do it. A woman from the other table in the restaurant overhears them and makes an assumption that they're talking about a real person and the protagonist is an assassin. She comes up to her, throws a piece of paper into her bag that says that she's going to pay the protagonist a really good chunk of money if she's going to kill her husband. The book is very funny and I appreciate books that are genuinely humorous. Plus, the protagonist is very charming and her life is an absolute mess and is fun to read about. She decides to see the husband that she's supposed to kill because she's scared that someone else is going to take the job and is going to actually kill him, so she wants to warn him. But she quickly figures out that he is a piece of shit and she actually accidentally murders him. This book is brilliant. It's a very quick read. There are twists and turns, a lot of plot twists, some interesting characters are introduced. I genuinely really loved reading it, even though it's not even my genre and it's not even the type of book that I'd usually pick up. If you're looking for something upbeat, pick it up. Another woman series that I want to recommend is Belladonna Ink series by Lorelie Brown. It's an FF romance series and each book follows a different protagonist that has to do something with Belladonna Ink tattoo shop. I have favorites in the series. Mine is definitely her hometown girl, but each book is pretty good. My least favorite is the second one. You can actually skip it and not miss anything. These are not fun romances, they're pretty serious actually, but they're so well written. And even the angsty parts add to the experience because you want these characters to pull through and to make their lives better. I think that's why I just consumed this series like hotcakes. The first book features a fake marriage scenario because one of the characters needs a green card. The second one is a fake dating scenario because the protagonist needs to bring a girlfriend to Thanksgiving to her homophobic relatives. And the third book is about a runaway bride who decides to bail on her abusive fiance and ends up at the tattoo parlor. These are so good. The third book especially is my favorite because I love hard comfort and I think the storyline was so well done. Lorelie Brown had done a really good job with the series and I highly recommend it because I really love it. Don't be surprised because the next recommendation is for a very hyped series that you've heard about, but it's one of those series that I think a lot of people are prejudiced against because of how popular it is. It's The Folk of the Year by Holly Black. Yes, the famous Fae series. I personally really loved it, and not for the reasons people usually love it, not for the romance, for the world building and politics, characters and their relationship dynamics. I think the series is very unique in that it's a fantasy, but it's really easy to get into. I could even listen to it on audio and not get confused, and with fantasy, I usually am confused when I listen to the books on audio. This story is full of twists and turns. It's about gray morality and a very complicated world of the Fae. I really love this because of the complex familial relationships, because of how much time was allotted not just to the romance, but also to the protagonist and to her development. She was not a Mary Sue, she was a full-fledged heroine. And I love that. I was a bit disappointed by the third book, I'm not going to lie, but the first two are absolute bangers, and I know that some people love the third book as well. I recommend it, especially if you were skeptical about the series. At least try it out, it's not going to bite you. And if you're annoyed by the fandom, stop listening to them. Just read it for yourself on your own. That's how I did it, and I really enjoyed it. The last series is another romance series. It's the Radleigh University series by Dahlia Adler, and it's a new adult romance series. Two of the books are MF, and one of the book is FF, one of my favorites. I'm biased. I think these are so quick, and even though some time passed and I'm no longer that interested in new adult romances, I still don't find them to be cringe. Usually when you grow out of certain category of books, you start criticizing them more. I can't really criticize them, to be honest, because I really enjoyed them. I think what makes these stories memorable for me is the relationship, the friendship between these three girls. They're going to the same university, and each of them struggles with her own issues, but also each of them finds a love interest in her own book. The first girl loses her parents, they get into a car crash and has to care for her younger siblings. She develops a romance with a TA in her university when she's trying to get her grades in order. The second girl is in a basketball team, I want to say, and she has an ongoing conflict with her parents that are not particularly attentive, are pretty selfish, and are constantly giving her trouble. She falls back in love with a guy that starts coaching the guys' basketball team. He was in a summer camp with her, and he's the first person she had sex with. The third girl is a pansexual disaster, and her many hookups start creating friction in her life. She meets a girl that is absolutely perfect, and she's head over heels for her, but the girl turns out to be the daughter of a conservative politic. Dahlia Adler has a very seamless writing style, and as I said, the relationship between these three girls glues this series together. The TV show that I would compare it to is The Sex Lives of College Girls. It's in many ways has a similar tone, and I enjoyed both very much. These are all the series that I think are pretty binge readable. I really enjoyed this. I think they're quick, snappy, and easy to get into. If you have any recommendations that you want to leave for me, you can do that in the comments down below. If you reach this part of the video, leave an emoji of the clock. And on this note, I will see you soon with another video, but until then,